And like that's the type of shit everyone is taking to our grave.
Yo, B, they ready. Let's go.
Feeling myself, I'm 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 feeling my.
I'm with some hood girls looking back at it, and a good girl in my tax bracket. Got a black card and let sex have it. These Chanel bags is a bad habit. I do balls, down Mavericks, my Maybach.
Hey everybody, we're here for the 5th episode of the Madden Scrubs podcast. On this episode, our special guest is D. Waters. You guys know him as Chargers. To kick off the podcast, I'm going to ask, how long have you been playing Madden?
Well, I first started Madden probably 2001 was the first game. I played from 2001 up to 2005. I think that was PS2. And then after that, I kind of switched to FIFA. I took a break, and I got back into Madden in Madden 25. So 25, 15, and now 16. I've been really back into the swing of things with Madden.
Yeah, same here. It was Madden 25 that kind of pulled me back in. I felt like a couple years, prior to that, for whatever reason, it just kind of lost its step for me. Although I was playing a lot of NCAA football on the Xbox at that time, I think I kind of preferred that to Madden. Of course, we don't have NCAA football anymore, so Madden kind of wins by default. How long have you been doing CFM?
CFM's probably been for 2 months.
Oh wow, so fairly new to the process.
Yeah, I was always a head-to-head or ultimate team player until I joined a couple leagues on PS4. Didn't really fit with me. There was a lot of drama, a lot of bullshit, and then I got grabbed an Xbox to actually play Destiny with some friends of mine. So I was looking for a league on Xbox, and it's the first Xbox league I came around, and I feel like it really fits what I'm looking for in a league, and like the chill atmosphere. And Slack is really nice. A lot of the other leagues use GroupMe or whatever on the phone.
Yeah,
I really like Slack.
Slack or die, that's what I say.
Yeah, fuck GroupMe. All right, man. Hey, tell us a crazy story about yourself.
Crazy story. I mean, most of my crazy stories will come from college. I think my favorite crazy story to tell, it was about the middle of January. Let's see, 3 years ago. I was 19, and it was my buddy's 21st birthday. So we were at Towson, where I went to school, and it was snowing. We made it to the bar. We managed to get a cab to the bar. There was only like 2 inches or so of snow on the ground. So we're there till the bar closes about 2:30. I make it. The bartender. I use a fake ID that looks nothing like me. The bartender's. It's snowing. It's almost the middle of the night. The bouncer knew it didn't look like me. He just let me in. He was a nice guy. So we go to walk home, and it's been snowing for probably 6 hours by now. So there's almost a foot of snow on the ground. Everything's covered in ice. It's normally like a 20-minute walk. It takes us about an hour to get home. Just because everyone's falling, stopping to laugh. Another person falls. Everyone laughs at him. The next person falls. It was like an hour trip, hammered in the middle of the night, full of ice, full of snow, just trying to get home. And I was 19 at the time, so it was one of my first experiences with like going to the actual bar, and it was just madness. People broke their phones. I'm just surprised the cops didn't stop us on the way home.
And where are you from again?
I'm Maryland born and raised.
Nice.
So I'm just about 20 minutes outside of Baltimore.
Okay, and where'd you go to college?
Towson University, about right on the outskirts of Baltimore City.
Okay, cool.
I've heard of it. Yeah.
So from what I've kind of read in chat, it looks like you enjoy PC gaming. Is that right?
Yeah, I would say that I'm mostly a PC gamer. I mean, I have Like I said, I have an Xbox and a PlayStation, but I do most of my gaming on PC. Nothing really serious. I mean, I have a nice setup, but I'm not really as serious as I used to be when I was younger about gaming kind of thing. So,
Right. So all time, what's your favorite PC game?
all time, I have to say Diablo 2, the Lord of Destruction expansion, because that was probably like the first real game I played, and I was probably middle school to high school for that, and I spent hours and hours on that game with a friend of mine who lived down the street growing up. We would just play that shit all day, and that was when dial-up was.
Right, yeah.
So
Probably on the AOL chat.
Yeah, well, we'd get complaints to the house like, "Oh, I couldn't call you because the phone was busy." I was fucking playing games on the internet.
Yeah, man, that brings back memories. Did you ever play Quake Team Fortress or anything like that?
Yeah, so I was in high school. I graduated high school in 2009. So we had but took some computer science type classes, and we had Quake set up on the shared servers. So we would just finish all our work quick, and then just play Quake all day on the on the school computers, and the teacher hated it. We eventually got that banned and they adjusted the IT policy at the school because of us.
Yeah, and you could do like LAN parties too if you were doing it at school.
Yeah,
which
that's
was so much
exactly
fun.
how we did it.
Yeah, I was on like oh god, this is gonna make me sound like a nerd, but it was like me and about 3 or 4 friends of mine, and it was that time with computers, because I graduated high school in '02, so it's right around when the internet was like really popping, and if you kind of had that knowledge with computers, which is still like this to some degree today, but especially by then, if you had a little knowledge with computers, it went a long way. And like I went to a smaller private school, so the principals and stuff thought just because we knew like a little bit about computers, they put us in charge of like fixing all the computers in the school that didn't require like outsourcing it. So if it wasn't anything major, just like minor stuff, people had issues, we had like a little lab they bring it to. But what they didn't know is like it would take like 10 minutes to fix whatever stupid issues they had, and then we would just play Quake Team Fortress the entire rest of the time. And we got like an A in like some bullshit made up class for doing it. It was the best thing ever.
Yeah, that's kind of like IT now, and people working takes a couple minutes to a little bit, and then you pretend you're working the rest of the day.
Yeah, I wish I would have stuck with that. I originally went to college. I wanted to do computer sciences, but it was right around the tech bust, and so everybody was getting out of those majors. Somehow I ended up going to law school instead of doing computer stuff, but I still regret not sticking with it because I think I would have enjoyed doing that a little bit more than what I do now.
Yeah, you just happen to end up being a lawyer. It's just, nothing, like it's nothing.
Well, it's one of those things where it's like, and I'm sure you guys may or may have not had this conversation with yourself at some point, but you have to sit down when you get to a certain age and in your school or whatever, and you go, well, what can I do forever? It was just like, it was just one of those things where it's like, well, I can talk to people and I know how to read, so I guess lawyer it is.
I started out as a biology major for like the first year and a half. And then I was like, you know what? No. It would be so much easier for me to just get a degree and get a job if I switch. So, sorry, dreams. We're going to make some money.
Yeah, no doubt. And Marty, you just got a new job recently too, didn't you?
Well, it's like it's a crazy story because I burned through about 4 majors in college before I went back to my original kind of thing in high school, which so I entered Texas Tech with a business major. Then I went to psychology. Then I went to exercise science and then journalism. And then finally I just got real with myself and said, look, you're an English major. You just got to do it. But I had been avoiding all the stigmas like, oh, well, English majors, they get jobs at bakeries and stuff. But I did really well in college. I graduated the 4.0. So I was burnt out this past year, and was like, man, I'm just going to go into the workforce. I got a sales rep job that I fucking hated. So I was there about 2 months and I quit. And I'm going to be applying to grad schools in September and pursue my PhD. So, it's kind of funny how like you kind of suppress who you should be, and it kind of comes back around sometimes. But yeah, I mean, about the new job, I just went back to my old college job, which is a pharmaceutical courier. You know, I just deliver pharmaceuticals to nursing homes, and I enjoy it way more than selling restaurant technology to people that don't give a shit. So.
So is that like pharmaceutical career, like Walter White career, or like a CVS career?
No, those days were in high school, but now it's like, like CVS, pharmaceutical scripts and stuff, like legit. So.
Okay, that's cool. Yeah, I know what you mean though about kind of suppressing what you want to do, and I think from what I can tell, it seems like the people that are the happiest in the end are the ones that, for better or worse, stuck with what it is they actually want to do and enjoy doing, regardless of how much money they end up making.
All right, D. Waters. We've talked about this in DM, man, and I think you did a really good job explaining it to me. So 3-4 or 4-3 defense, which do you like and why?
Before I joined the Madden League, I was, ever since 25, I was stoutly a 4-3 Bengals playbook, utilizing that 46 defense a lot. And now, once I took over this team that was running a 3-4, I think I'm a 3-4 convert. I really like the versatility and the zone blitzes. I play probably 99% zone. So I like the versatility and coming out in the base defense, be able to drop everyone in coverage except for those 3 interior, switch sides rushing, and it has a lot of coverage options and a lot of blitz options. So I think I have to say I'm a 3-4 person now. I run the Patriots defense with a little bit in there, a little bit of custom. I like the psycho formation where you have your 4 pass rushers on the down line and your 2 linebackers. I think it's nickel psycho. So yeah, I would say 3-4. It converted me. I wasn't a believer, but I definitely am now.
Yeah, you not worry about giving up runs up the middle though?
It is a problem. I think we'll get the personnel I have there to make that happen a little bit later. But I do tend to pinch inside a lot when I come out in that 3-4 defense. I tend to pinch inside. Those 2 ends come in right by the nose tackle, and I do get hurt up the middle a lot. But I think stacking that middle just by that look where they pinch inside forces people to maybe second guess running inside, and they might tend to change up their game plan, throw them off a little bit when they see that stacked up in the middle.
What I like to do with kind of the 3-4, with that problem with inside zones and halfback dives, I like to so I got Eli Harold as my middle linebacker 2, and Quan Alexander as my middle linebacker 1. But usually, what I like to do when I kind of predict a run coming up the middle, I like to put Quan in QB spy, and then put Eli Harold in a kind of a flat zone. That usually buys the safeties enough time for them to get in there and get the tackle. It helps a lot.
Yeah, I remember when I first joined, I tried to get Eli Harold from you.
Yeah,
too steep for me.
You and you and Raiders both were kind of the ones that wanted him, but it just would have been kind of a loss for me, so I decided to keep him.
Yeah, it's understandable. I mean, I think he's not highly rated, but I think he has the attributes that a lot of people look for or should look for in a middle linebacker.
All right, I got one more question for you. What position with your style play, not necessarily every user's style play, what position do you consider to be the most undervalued position in Madden?
Not like a user or anything. I would say nose tackle. A nose tackle that, I picked up Jarrell Casey in free agency, and that has helped my defense tremendously because he can get in there, he can shed a block, he can take 2 blocks on, and it helps against the run, those inside runs kind of things. So I think that is underrated a lot in Madden, having Damon Harrison, who's on the Giants now in real life, I believe, is one of the best nose tackles in the league. And I think that even in real life, not just Madden, I think the nose tackle is an extremely underrated position.
Man after my own heart. It's like you knew that's who I was picking in the roster base segment.
It was a total guess.
Yeah, I'm curious. Chargers, what's your favorite Madden play?
My favorite play on offense would be that this definitely be that Saints fork play, where you come out with
Nice.
3 wide receivers and a tight end and a running back who lines up outside and has a slot running that flag route or the outside post, and the number 1 on the all the way outside running a deep post, and that makes a really tough matchup in zone. And in man, if you have your linebacker on the slot receiver in man, or if you're running zone, I usually hit the flat underneath real quick. That's usually good for 5 or 6 yards, easy.
Oh, yeah.
All right, Scrubs, get your favorite towel or that loose sock that you keep around when things are getting crazy, because we're about to roster bait. I'm going to jump right in with my pick. It's Jarrell Casey. You just heard Chargers talk a little bit about him. He's his nose tackle. When you run the type of defense Chargers runs, I think this is a very vital player. Chargers went through it a little bit about why he finds him important or why he finds a nose tackle in general important. And I couldn't agree with him more. Everybody thinks that the secret to my front line is Donald. But I've always found that if you're going to run, like I do, multiple defenses, it really helps to have a stout nose tackle. Jarrell Casey is no different. The guy's got 91 strength. He's got 98 power move and 96 block shed. He's also got 87 finesse move, so this guy can do everything. He can pass rush. He can get after the running back. He's a do-it-all kind of player. Now, unfortunately, since we have switched to the new Daddy Leagues page, since the Insane Clown Posse incident, I don't have all of his old stats, but this current year he's doing okay. He's got a couple tackles, but the real secret, and I think we all probably know this at this point, with a nose tackle, it's not necessarily the stats they rack up, but it's just their presence, especially in the run game. They kind of make you second guess running up the middle. It's hard to get around them. They're giant, they're fat, they're athletic. They make it typically a pain in the ass for whoever you're playing to run. And I do it, everybody does it. As much as we all like to run those inside zones, it's extremely important to have a guy like Jarrell Casey. So that's my pick. I would ask Chargers what he thinks about him, but we already heard him kind of gush a little bit over Jarrell Casey in the last segment. So with that, I'm going to kick it over to Marty and see who he's got for roster bait.
Yeah, so I went to a guy on offense, and he's a rookie, and his name is Ilar Russell. He's a wide receiver. So Chargers took him in the first round, 23rd pick overall. I think he had some concerns with his character, and his scouting showed that he was kind of a second round guy, but we all know that no pick is safe in the draft. So if you believe in someone, you take them. We obviously see a lot of cases every year where people kind of gamble with that and say, well, this guy here, he's a 5th round pick, and I think he's first round value, but I'm going to take him in the 3rd. And sure enough, someone else swipes him in the 1st round. So Chargers took this guy 23rd overall, which I think is a really good spot for where he took him. He's 6'4", 236. So he's a really big guy that's going to go and jump up for that ball. And anytime you throw a jump ball, he's 21 years old, very young. It's a shame that the league won't keep going on past the season, because I think there was a stupendous class of rookies this past season that could have been great for development. I think the reason he fell was because of his development, actually, which is average, which isn't bad, which isn't great. It's definitely better than slow. Ilar Russell came out of Michigan State, so he's a Spartan. A lot of good Spartans in the league, like Le'Veon Bell, for instance. So far this season, he's been lighting it up, man. 17 receptions, 425 yards. That's 25 yards average per catch. That's a quarter of a field. I mean, that's pretty crazy. And 4 touchdowns. Very impressive so far. And, honestly, I would have taken this guy at 10, but I felt like, just a lot of concerns over development and the red jewel that I got on scouting. So I bypassed him for Randall Pearson, who's been great for me. But, I think Eli Russell is a great pick so far for Chargers. What do you think, D. Waters?
Well, I definitely agree that the rookie class, especially at wide receiver and at running back, was really deep. Well, not so much deep, but really stacked up there at the top few rounds. The wide receiver that the Jets CPU drafted at number 1, that Falcons now has, probably would have gone number 1 in a regular draft. And then you have Hale that the Panthers have. You have Pearson that you had, who I was looking at. I had to settle for Russell because you took Pearson there. But the wide receivers, all the wide receivers that went in the first round, I think Colts got a really good one too. And I can't remember all of them. I'm going to get shit for it. But I can't remember all the wide receivers everyone drafted. But there was a lot of good rookies in this draft. And I wish Russell had a little bit more acceleration, but I think overall he fits what I'm looking for. And if we were going to keep moving on, if this was earlier in the year, he would definitely probably be taking the number 1 spot in the next year, maybe the next half year, with a little bit more experience from games and stuff like that.
Yeah, and it looks like he's averaging about a touchdown a game too, which for a rookie, that's great. I mean, he might be in the running for Offensive Rookie of the Year.
Well, I'm going to take a second-year player for me that I drafted in the 7th round last year. I'm going to take E.J. James, my starting quarterback for this segment. He was the only reason I drafted him was because of his combine stats. He has 85 speed, 89 acceleration with 91 agility. And so I was like, well, I'm not sure. I didn't even scout him. I didn't know what his throwing stats would be, but I figured I could take a 7th round flyer on him. And I saw his stats. The 88 throw power is not what I was hoping for. I usually like a little bit more, but I haven't had a problem with that in the last 2 years. And I spent a whole year debbing him. So now he's up to about mid-80s short, middle, and about mid-70s deep, which I don't really throw deep that much, so it's been working out. But he's really been a surprise in the 7th round for me. And I think this year he doesn't have any games with a quarterback rating under 100 yet, which is surprising to me when I was looking at the stat getting ready for the segment, because Raiders blew me out. So I thought he would definitely be under that there. But he's performed. He hasn't missed a lot of throws, so I like him a lot.
Yeah, that's pretty nasty. I mean, if he continues at the pace that he's going right now, he might go down as one of the best draft picks in Scrubs history. This is one of those guys where if we had another at least 2 seasons, I think everybody would be talking about him.
Yeah, and to add on to that, I think I need to add a little bit more rollouts, maybe a couple more. I think I only have 1 rollout and 1 triple option. I don't think I have any read options or anything like that. But with his speed and excel and juke and agility, I think I need to add a little bit more of that to the playbook to take full advantage of his skill set.
Yeah, no doubt. With the way my quarterbacks stay in the emergency room, I am petrified to roll them out or run any kind of options. All right, guys, hope you enjoyed that roster bait segment. That was a fun one. Next, we're going to go to Chargers call-out segment. He's going to do a little promo, maybe check a couple guys, put some people in their place.
All right, well, it's tough being smart. I think I'm about a season and a half into the league, so I haven't had a chance to play a lot of people. So I'm gonna change it up. I'm gonna make 1 call out and a couple. I'm gonna make 2 call outs and a couple shout outs. I'll start off with calling out the Dolphins. I thought I know he has Cam Newton, but I thought in our game, it was a really close game. It came down to a user pick by him with 2 minutes left in the 4th, and he sealed the deal there. But I feel like he might have rolled out a little too much with Cam Newton there, a little too early, a little too much. So I'm just going to make sure if the Dolphins and I get to play again, make sure to handle that, and it won't happen again. I think the second person I'm going to call out is myself, actually. When I first joined the league, there was that one night I talked a lot of shit. And can blame it on the alcohol, but I talked a lot of shit. and I got called out by the old 49ers in the first podcast I was even in here for, and I think I ended up going 7-9 the first season. I had a lot of scheduling issues. I took a lot of losses on the sim, but I think I'm a better player than that, and I got to suck it up and maybe stay up a little bit later to get these games in. It was definitely my fault. So the two shout outs I'm going to give is, he's been bitching about it, but I'm going to give it to him anyway. My real life team, Philadelphia Eagles. Just a quick shout out for winning the Super Bowl. And then I know he got his ass kicked tonight by the Eagles, but I'm going to give a shout out to the Cowboys, who I desperately hate in real life. But I mean, he put together a 4-0 start, and I don't think anyone expected that. So that's my two shout outs and two call outs.
Woo! You guys heard it. Not too crazy of a call out segment. Probably one of the more even kill ones we've had, but great nonetheless. So next we're going to jump into one of my favorite segments, which is a relatively new one. It's the unhelpful advice from a scrub. Hope you guys enjoy it.
Friend in need's a friend indeed. A friend with weed is better.
All right, guys, it's time to help a scrub out. This is a second unhelpful advice from a scrub segment we've done, and I think everybody will enjoy it. So I got an email from an anonymous scrubber who's in a little perplexed on what to do in the situation. So I'm just going to read the email to you guys, and then we'll talk about it. So he says, I guess I'm looking for advice on how to handle a situation with my best friend and his ex-girlfriend. I want to know, should I tell my friend the truth about what happened with his ex-girlfriend and me? The story is a typical enough one, I guess. My friends split after a 5-year relationship. I was on a night out with some friends and was a little drunk. I bumped into my friend's ex, and she started coming on to me quite strongly. I ended up sleeping with her. Again, this happened about 4 years ago. My friend has since got a new girlfriend and actually has a baby on the way. And I haven't seen his ex for a few years. The problem is, last night I received a text message asking if I had slept with his ex-girlfriend. Because it was such a long time ago, do I admit it and hope for the best, or deny? What the hell am I supposed to do? Please help me out. So I don't know, guys. That sounds like a pretty tricky situation. What do y'all think you should do?
Fuck, man. Shit. All right, Marty here. Man, I understand that, crazy stuff happens. You're out with friends. You drink a little bit too much. You run into someone that comes on to you. I mean, you're basically like zero defense there. You're helpless. So I understand the vulnerability there, but I think, it's time to man up. And I think your best friend asked you a direct question, and I don't think you should lie to him. I think you got to step up and own it, man. Couple things though. That may be the end of your friendship with him. I don't know how he'll take it. It's kind of sensitive, It's a tough situation, man. So I'm having a hard time giving you solid advice here, but me personally, I would own it because you've been confronted, and I've always been of the opinion that lies will catch up to you regardless in some way. So you just gotta suck it up and own it, man.
Yeah, no doubt. This is a kind of a tough spot for this dude. I mean, I think it certainly depends on your relationship. You're saying this guy is your best friend, and if he's asking you directly about it, odds are he already knows the truth, or he has a strong suspicion. And if it's been that long ago, him and his ex might have ran into each other. She might have felt guilty about it and said, hey, did you know I slept with your best friend? Or maybe she was being vindictive and wanted to hurt him. Regardless, odds are he probably knows about it at this point. You might as well come clean. Do it the right way, though. Don't text him back and say, yes, I slept with your ex-girlfriend. Tell him you guys should go get drinks or something, have a dinner, and just man up, man to man. You got to tell him what happened. Maybe you can spin it a little bit so it doesn't sound as bad, but at the end of the day, you slept with his ex, so I don't know how not bad you could make it.
Yeah, I have to say I had the same exact reaction Marty had to start out there. I was just like, fuck. Like, you fucked up there. I mean, she can come on. try to spin it that she came onto you, you were drunk, blah blah blah, which I would do, by the way. Say, we were both just really drunk and it just happened. I would go with that. I would definitely, like Raven said, if that's your best friend, you got to tell him the truth. And like as Marty said, it could be the end of the race. It could be the end of your friendship. But if you guys are really best friends, then it shouldn't be. If it happened a while ago, he'd probably be pissed, might not talk to you for a while. But you really, because he probably knows. He wouldn't ask you that direct question out of the blue unless she said something to him or he knew for sure, some stuff like that. So I would be definitely go to hit up a bar, have a couple drinks, not too many drinks so you don't get in a fight, which happens between best friends. But definitely got to tell him and go from there. I mean, fucked up. He probably knows already. So just be honest. Tell him it was a mistake. Tell him you were drunk, all that bullshit, whatever you got to do. But you definitely got to tell him, and you definitely can't pussy out and give him a text or whatever. So just man up. It's part of being a man. Just gotta suck it up once in a while and tell the truth.
And look, what you lose in a best friend, you gain in an Eskimo brother. So what's better than that? All right, guys. So we also had another email from. I'm not going to rat him out and say who it is. I'll just say that he tends to send in lots of advice questions, and they're never about non-Madden things. Which the whole point of the segment is to give us something that is non-Madden in the podcast. But anyway, I figured we'd throw him a bone. So this anonymous scrubber wants to know, how do we win in the fourth quarter in Madden?
I wonder who this is.
Yeah, who could it be? So, I was thinking about what I was going to say to this fella, and my advice would be, at least for me personally in my game, I mean, the tough thing about questions like this is everybody in Madden, for the most part, at least when you get to a certain level, everybody plays a little different. Everybody's got their own strategies, their own schemes, their own philosophies. But for me personally, I find that if I can make myself stick to the run, then I typically get better results. It's turnovers are usually the death knell for me, and it's when I start falling in love with my receivers, I end up losing a lot of times. I think it also depends on how much you're up in the fourth quarter. If you're up by 2 touchdowns, I find that it really helps that if you can get your opponent thinking that you're going to run, just when he thinks he's got your rhythm figured out, throw a pass. Just when he thinks you're going to throw a pass, run it. You'd be surprised how many times in 3rd and 6 that you can throw your running back right up the middle and he'll get 10 yards because of the defense your opponent's in. So that'd be my advice for how to have some success in the fourth quarter. What do you guys think?
I'm going to go to a very mainstream song, and it's Don't Stop Believing. Man, if you got a 10-point lead and it's the fourth quarter, don't stop attacking. Don't get conservative. Don't start running the ball. Keep attacking, man. Keep just throwing out yards with the pass. But I will say, though, ATL Beast does have a good point. I would use the run to set up the pass. So on first down, I would probably pass because it'll catch your opponent off guard. Second down, probably run, and then back to the pass on third. But, it's kind of we don't really know what the game situation is. Each game's different. So I would go with your gut instinct. But the thing is, though, don't stop believing that you're going to get the win because, man, 9 times out of 10, when I start getting in my head, man, this guy's going to come back and beat me, it happens. So don't let that bullshit get in your head like, oh, I'm going to lose this game even though I'm 10 points up. No, man, you got to keep believing in yourself.
Yeah, I'm not going to break out in song. I don't quite have the voice Marty does for it. But I definitely agree that I think once you go up and you're up in the fourth, a lot of people tend to change up what they're doing, what they did to get there. They might try to run the ball more. I'm going to put on the commish hat. You should keep your ratios to run to pass within rules. But I think if you're up in the fourth, you should stick to what you're doing. Don't be like, oh, well, I got to run the clock, so I'm going to run the ball more. Just keep doing what you're doing. You got up. You're up in the fourth. So don't change up your offense. Keep running your offense, and don't change up your defense either. I mean, even in real life, you see a lot of defenses going to like a soft cover 4 or prevent, just to not give up the big plays, and then the other team slowly grinds it out, short passes on the ground, and all of a sudden it's a 1-point game, and now you're nervous and you make a mistake, and it's all over, just like I did against Dolphins. One mistake cost me that game. So it was a play that I don't usually call. I figured it was in the fourth. I need to make something happen. I tried something different, and he caught me on it with a user pick, and it was all over from there. So I think it's important to, both on offense and defense, stick to your game plan, sort of, or what's been working for you all game, and that's pretty much it. You just got to stick with it, keep your focus, and go for it. Go for the throat. Don't always try to pussy out. No, I don't want to mean, I sort of mean pussy out and not run up the score, but sometimes you just got to step on the throat and end the game.
All right, little anonymous scrubber. Now you know how to win in the fourth quarter, so there's no excuses. So I did have one more question for you guys, kind of jumping back to the other advice question. Have y'all ever found yourself in a situation with somebody's ex-girlfriend, or has one of your friends found himself in a situation with your ex-girlfriend?
Man, this shit hits home, dude. It really does, because I was in a very similar situation with my best friend, actually. Him and his girl were having a lot of problems. This was like a very dysfunctional relationship. And somehow I was in the middle of both of them, because I was friends with both of them. So they both kept coming to me for advice. And honestly, I was just like, you guys need to break up, because you guys aren't made for each other, honestly. But that weekend was my birthday party. And, you know, she was there. He was there. He left because he didn't want to see her. And then, you know, I got too drunk. She came on to me. But the problem is me and the girl had a past relationship in high school. So about like 6 years before my best friend and her even met. So there was history there. And, the fucking bitch went and ran to him and said, oh, he came on to me and lied and all this shit. And our friendship fell apart, unfortunately. So yeah, that question hit home for me. So, anonymous scrubber, I really hope that you have better results with your honesty. So, yeah.
What about you, Chargers?
Well, directly, no, nothing like that's ever happened to me. I've never hit on or got with an ex of a friend of mine, but sort of related, and I hope randomly this doesn't get out sort of to my group of real life friends, but we had a huge issue where one of my friends slept with another one of my friends' little sister. And he was probably 22, 23 at the time, and she was 18 or 19. And like that's the type of shit everyone is taking to our grave. Like we shit on each other a lot and make fun of each other and all that. And even when we get blackout drunk, that's something we never bring up and take to our, and we're all taking that shit to our grave. 'Cause that'd be like, I don't even know if I could put into words how devastating that would be for everyone involved. So, I mean, to relate it to that question, if your friend didn't ask you directly, I would have never brought it up. But since he asked you directly, I think you just got to suck it up and deal with the consequences of your actions sometimes.
Yeah, I agree. When things tip the scale, sometimes you got to get ahead of the bat. And if he already knows about it, denying it's just going to put you in a worse situation if you want to salvage the friendship. And if he's your best friend, it sounds like you probably do. I guess my story with this would be, so one of my first girlfriends in college, we had not been dating a whole long time, and the relationship itself didn't last a very long time. You know, it's just one of those college relationships. When you first get to college, you're meeting people, everybody's new, and then you find yourself with sort of a girlfriend, and then you're not with them anymore, and you kind of moved on, they moved on, whatever. So I had that situation, and one of my best friends in high school, he was still a year younger than me, and this girl had gone back to my hometown with some girls that I was friends with. So she goes back. He finds himself at a house party that she's at with these other friends of mine or whatever, and they end up hooking up. And so then like a year, maybe 2 years later, me and my buddy are sitting around and kind of catching up. He ended up going to a different college than the one I went to. And he's like, hey, man, you remember that girl? And I was like, yeah. Why? He's like, dude, you didn't love her or anything, right? And I was like, what? That's a random question to ask me. He's like, oh, good, man, because I slept with her, and I was always worried you'd be so mad about that. And I was like, what are you talking about? He was like, well, and then I'd forgotten about this. Like, all of us went to to the movies one time, and this was like a while after I had been dating this girl, but somehow me, him, and her, I think he was in town to see me. And somehow me, him, her, and then a couple of our other friends ended up going to a movie. And she sat next to me because we were still a little friendly. And I reached over to kind of put my arm around her seat, and then his hand was already there, and I was like, that's weird. But I didn't ever think much about it just because, whatever. And then when he told me that, I was like, God damn, I'm stupid. So, anyway, that's my story. So, all right, guys, well, we're gonna jump on over to the next segment. It's our Marty segment of the podcast, which I know we all enjoy, and I'm looking forward to this one. I'm gonna let Marty introduce this one. It's one that he's worked on and came up with, so I'm gonna let him do the pleasure of jumping into it and doing his own introduction.
All right, guys, let's do it. So I've dubbed this segment "Marty's Watching You." Couple of guys that I have, really have caught my eye just because of the performance. So I felt it was necessary to recognize them, and we could all just talk about him. First guy on offense, the Browns quarterback, Russell Wilson. This guy is just kind of spewing some really ridiculous stats right now. So far on the year, he's 71 out of 117, which equates to 61% completion rate. Really good, I think. 1,329 yards. That's 11.4 average on the pass. And he has 15 touchdowns already to 18 interceptions. His QBR is 112. So I think the Browns really has found a really great winning formula right now, just channeling it through Russell Wilson. So I think Wilson's been a stud this season, honestly. And I'm pretty sure you guys have kind of noticed it as well. So, I mean, what do you guys think about this?
Yeah, Russell Wilson, who's been a pretty good player in our league, is no different this year, but it seems like his game has been elevated with the new Browns user. I find it interesting, though. Let's see, I'm looking at it right now. I think the Browns, he's 1-3, but he's had some pretty close losses, and I don't think that that'll continue unless his schedule is just real difficult. So we'll see how it works out for him, but he has done a really good job using Russell Wilson to his full potential. So let's see I said pretty close losses. So his first game he lost 26 he won 43-26, and then he lost to the Giants 38-41, and then lost to the Raiders 13-24, and then lost to the Jags 42-45. So his losses have come against three of the best players in the league. I always consider A. Walker one of the better players, even though he won't admit it to himself. So it's been interesting. Now I believe the Browns user now is old Bears user, who I've always thought had a lot of potential. And now that he's got one of the best teams in the league, I'm curious to see if he's able to make the playoffs or not. He's dug himself into a little bit of a hole, but I think if Russell Wilson continues to have as good of a season as he is right now, he should have a good shot at making the playoffs.
Yeah, I was bringing up daddy leagues after Marty pointed out that quarterback rating, which is really surprising. I play a pretty efficient offense, at least passing. The run game sometimes fails me, and Russell Wilson has like a 10-point better passer rating than EJ James does for me, which is surprising. And he's just lighting it up with Russell Wilson. He had if I remember, I'm too lazy to go back to the old site. If I remember, he struggled a little bit with the old Bears, but now that he has, like you mentioned, Ravens, one of the better teams in the league. He's really putting together a nice season, even at 1-3. The Raiders and the Jags are going to be up there in the top in my top 6 power rankings. So he played them pretty close. So I think if he can maybe put the finishing touches on some of these games, he could be there in the playoffs.
Yeah, definitely. All right, number 2 guy that has caught my eye on the watching you radar is safety Tyrann Mathieu. So he currently is on the Seattle Seahawks in this league. He was a first-round pick, 9th overall, so obviously he has the caliber of a great player. But so far this season, he's been a stud. 23 tackles, 1 forced fumble, and 1 interception. I think that's just pretty phenomenal for a free safety. You definitely want a guy that's making an impact on the field, and I think that his 23 tackles definitely makes an impact so far in week 4. He's number 1 in the league on tackles, so Matthew's just balling right now, and it really shouldn't be any surprise.
Yeah, he's having a great season. This is one of my favorite players in the NFL, even more so now after watching that Arizona Cardinals documentary on Amazon Prime. But, yeah, I think keeping him at safety is the smart move. Some people will use him as corner because he does have the flexibility to do both. If you look at his attributes, he's got 92 man coverage, 99 zone, 88 speed, but he has 92 acceleration, which, hey, both of those stats are actually great for safety. And 94 agility, which I think is one of the more underrated stats or attributes for players in Madden, especially players in coverage. I find that my players that have better agility are able to stop guys in man coverage a little better. But more importantly, he's got 98 awareness. His play rec isn't amazing, but it's still good. It's 88. But he has 94 pursuit, which is phenomenal for a safety, and good tackling as well. No surprise he's having a good season as a 99 overall player, and maybe some of his greatness will rub off on the Seahawks user.
Yeah, I definitely agree with the that analysis. I think the agility, I agree, is underrated. I think you could have if you have high man coverage below agility, you're still going to get burned. And I can't remember off the top of my head, but I think there's a YouTube video out there. I can't remember who it was by, describing that thing exactly. That it's a combination of man and agility gets the coverage that you want. If you just have high man and 80 agility, he's gonna get burned every play. But Matthew is the prototype type player that I would look for in a fantasy draft, because he has the versatility. He can play on his own. He has high acceleration. He's a little short, but that's all right. And that's who in the Scrubs Bowl, Bills I used the Steelers. Bills used the Cardinals, and he destroyed me with Matthew. I think he probably had 2 picks, huge picks just with Matthew. So he's a really good player, especially he's younger, so he's great for CFM leagues. And if you can dev up just a little bit, and then he's perfect as a user or CPU controlled, and he can do it all. He can play man, he can play zone, he can play deep, he can play in the box. So it's really a standout player.
All right, guys. Well, that's Marty's new segment he put together for us. As always, it's a fun one, and happy Marty is always willing to put in the work to come up with fun segments, and his analysis is usually pretty on spot. So next we're going to jump into, I believe, our pick 6 power rankings. We'll see who everybody's got in the top 6 spots of the league. We're still pretty early on in the season, so obviously these could change, but I know that there are a couple surprises in this top 6, so we'll see who everybody's got. All right, Marty, who you got?
Yeah, so I'm going to just warn everyone, my power rankings are a little controversial, but I'm confident in what I believe, so let's jump into it. Number 6, I got you, ATL Beast. You're at 3-1. The reason I got you at 6 rather than a little bit higher, I feel like your schedule's been a little lenient on you. You do have that one blowout win versus the Steelers, and I know Steiger is just a great user in Madden Hub. So, and I know that you're accolades in Scrubs speak for themselves. So I have full confidence in that you'll have a great season. So, but I got you at number 6, ATL. Moving up to number 5, I have last year's Super Bowl winners, the Eagles there, sitting at number 5. They're 3-1 as well. Notable wins. They had a 33-14 win over Zan, the Falcons, in week 3. I think anytime you can beat Zan, that definitely boosts your morale, and people notice it. So I got the Eagles at number 5, but honestly, that's the only big game I noticed in their schedule, so I got them at 5. Number 4, moving on up, I got the Raiders. You can't sleep on the Raiders. They got such a stacked team. It's ridiculous. Fucking Odell Beckham with the speed upgrade this year is just killing it. So I got the Raiders. They're 3-1. Week 1, they had a 41-14 win over our guests this week, the Chargers. Hate to bring that up, the Waters. Week 3, they had a 24-13 win over the new Browns user, which I don't know how big that is, but I thought it was kind of notable there considering how good Russell Wilson has been playing. So, but I feel like the Raiders have been a little bit absent this season, so I placed them at 4 and giving them a chance to prove me wrong and do some more damage. Number 3, I got the Dolphins. Yeah, the Dolphins, they're 4-0, man. And I really think that this year they deserve the credit. They've been doing so well the last 3 seasons since I've joined. So I thought I would shower them with a gift at number 3. I will say something, though, that is bothering me about the Dolphins offense. Cam Newton only has 4 passing touchdowns. Like, what the fuck is that about? So, Dolphins, step it up, man. I know Cam can have at least 18 touchdowns at this point. Notable wins, though, for the Dolphins. Another win over our guests this week. A week 2 win over the Chargers. 17-10. I think that's impressive. The only reason I bring that up is because I think the Chargers are definitely a great team. And so anytime you beat the Chargers in this league, it says something. And honestly, the Dolphins have had the prestige over the last few seasons. So I put them at number 3. At number 2, 4-1 just recently by tonight, the Buccaneers. This is my boy Stinger from Evo. And I've played with Stinger for 4 years now. I know what kind of player he is. So this isn't bias of me loving the guy. It's just me knowing how good he is. And it's part of the reason why I brought him into Scrubs, because I really believe he's going to just improve the culture, make everyone better. And so far, he's kind of proven me right. Now, he did lose to the Vikings tonight, which is kind of unsettling. But ATL kind of brought up a few mysterious reasons as to why he could have lost. Let's be honest. The Buccaneers played a game versus Zan an hour before he played versus the Vikings. So I think he was still licking his wounds after playing the Falcons. He barely beat Zan by 21-14. So it was a tough game. I think he was still licking his wounds from that game, and that may have been why he lost to the Vikings. But by all accounts, I think it was a fluke. Sorry, Vikings. I know it's probably not the best thing to hear, but I think my boy Buccaneers is at number 2, deservedly. At number 1, I'm going to stick to it. This is a guy that I was hyping up all last season, and I think you guys have had a season now to kind of buy into it. And this is the Packers, Mr. Jeep, at number 1. He's 4-0 so far in the year. Notable wins. A week 1 win over the recent Super Bowl winners, the Eagles. So he won by 27-21. I think that anytime you can beat the Super Bowl winners of last year so fresh in week 1, that speaks volume. And also, guys, let's keep in mind that in the divisional round, it was Eagles versus Packers last year, and Eagles beat the Packers CPU. So let's not forget that. I think Packers came out strong. They're going to keep rolling. I really wouldn't be surprised if they went, let's say, 13-3 this season. But I have a feeling he's going to prove me wrong and have a better record. Another notable win to see for the Packers is this week. versus Zed and the Falcons. That's going to be a game to watch, and I think it's going to be a great game. So roll it over to D Waters and see what he's got.
Well, I'll change it up a little bit again, just because I'm an ass and I do what I want. But I'm going to start from the top here and go down. For me, Raiders is still the best player in this league. I've played against him a couple of times now. I've played against him. I've played against Packers. I played against Dolphins. And for me, the versatility that Raiders shows in his user, being able to use a D-line, being able to switch to linebacker, being able to come on the safety too sometimes, it's just, for me, he's the best player in this league. So number 2, I have Packers at number 2, and I think it's contentious too. I think I would really want to see him and Raiders have a matchup in the Super Bowl this year. I was hoping for it last year. I think it would be a really good game for us neutrals to watch. So I have Pack at 2. And number 3, they won the Super Bowl. I have got to have the Eagles at 3. That run game is just destroying people. Drico, I don't even know what he's averaging now, probably close to 8-9 yards a carry. I know he's leading the league in rushes right now. So he's just a monster, and that run game, I think the run game is really underrated in Madden. If you can establish the run, it opens up a lot of options in the pass. Number 4, I have the Dolphins. Played a close game with him. As Marty said, I lost that game. But he really came in clutch there in the fourth quarter. He picked me off on a user pick and drove the ball 20, 30 yards. And I had to let him score the 7 to get a shot with the ball back. But that user pick really gave me a lot to think about with my offense, trying to call different plays. Like I mentioned earlier, you got to stick to your game plan. So I think that user pick really was a shock to the system. I thought I could get a little cute running around. I don't usually run, and he ate it. He ate it for lunch. So that's why he's at 3. That's why he's at 4 for me. And 5, I got the Ravens. The Ravens beat the Raiders in the playoffs last year. I mean, I know Odell went down, and that's a big part of the Raiders' offense. But he pulled out a win there right at the end. He's down at 5 just because I was considering putting it a little higher there, Ravens. But I just haven't had a chance to play it, and I think that's the best way to establish rankings. So, and then at number 6, even though I gave him a pretty good ass whooping last season, I have the Jags. I think a big part of his game is getting people's heads. So Marty and Ravens, I think you let him get in your heads. But you cover that. I'm putting it on tape. Cover that Bucks Sale play, and you'll be good against the Jags. But I do have him at 6. He's a really good run game. Trey Mason breaks a lot of tackles, and then Bortles is obviously good. So I have him at 6, and that rounds out my top 6.
All right, nice. I'm gonna run through my pick 6 real quick here. At 6, I've got Bucks. I would have Bucks a lot higher, but after he lost to one of the have-nots in the league, I can't put him any higher because we'll see. Maybe it's a trend. Maybe he's going to keep losing. Maybe he'll keep winning. Who knows why he lost? Rumor is he was up all night on a coke bench, but I don't believe that for a second. It's just rumor.
Performance-enhancing drugs? Is that what's going on?
Yeah, I think a little PED action that may have backfired.
Commissioners might have talked about that.
Yeah, we're going to get together. He's going all Randy Moss on us. So next, I've got number 5, Super Bowl winners last year, the Eagles. I want to put Eagles higher, but this early in the season and the production some other guys have had and just their historic value in the league, I don't know. I just couldn't do it. But I think Eagles could very well end up back in the Super Bowl. I do think he benefited a little bit with the Packers not being able to play his playoff games this past year. 4, I've got the Raiders. We all know the Raiders. Every power ranking, he's usually 1, 2. I do have him at 4 this year. I don't know. For some reason, it just feels like a little bit of a different Raiders team. I hope he proves me wrong and continues his winning ways. And, his only losses against the CPU, so I don't really know what I'm talking about. But for some reason, I feel like that 4 spot is right for him at the moment. At 3, I've got the Jags. The Jags was 2-0 against me. He really handed it to me in the playoffs. This past game we played, felt like I had that one won, but ended up throwing too many turnovers, and he put together a great fourth quarter, pulled out the win. At 2, I've got the Dolphins. The Dolphins has really, really found a good pace in this league. It's been a couple seasons now. He's always at the top. He had the bye last year, and I expect good things for him to continue this year. And if one, I've got the Packers. It's the guy that I really felt like was going to win the Super Bowl last year. He had some bad luck as far as having to miss the playoffs. So the CPU took over, and surprisingly enough, the CPU didn't make it to the Super Bowl. So this year, hopefully, he'll be able to play his games, get them in, and we'll see if we can't get a little Packers versus maybe the Raiders or one of the other top players in the AFC. Very curious to see if he can snag this last Scrub Super Bowl for Madden 2016. So that wraps up the Pick 6 power rankings. Next, we're gonna talk about the Eagles. You heard us all mention the Eagles won the last Super Bowl. So I'm going to kick it over to Marty first. Let Marty kind of give his opinion on the way things went down in the playoffs last year. Led up to Eagles grabbing his first Scrub Super Bowl and pulling out the victory.
I'm going to enjoy this, man. First off, I told you so. Didn't I say? I know it's a year beforehand that I predicted the Eagles would win, and I was wrong that year. But he came back the following season and proved us all wrong, because we all kind of laughed at. I know everyone laughed at me for making that prediction, including you, ATL, and Zan, my co-hosts on this show. So I told you so. This team is star-studded. I really think it is. The offensive line isn't anything to write home about, I don't think. He's definitely got a hole at center. But Scott Tyler Jackson, the right guard, 90 overall, sealing up that spot right there for the run game, which has paid dividends for Drico Foreman this season, without a doubt. But I think the real difference maker on this team is Brody Hunter, the quarterback. 94 overall. He's only got 89 throw power. It's kind of pedestrian, nothing exciting, but Eagles makes it work. He's got 94 short accuracy, 94 mid accuracy, and 80 deep accuracy, but he's also got 86 speed. So I know that Eagles likes to utilize that and be versatile on offense. I think that's definitely been working for him. But so when I made the prediction a season before he went to the Super Bowl, I was mainly looking at his defense, really what I thought was very impressive for me in making that prediction. We got Eric Cabrera, an 84 left end right there, 84 speed. So he's got a sick pass rusher. He's got Mike Daniels, who's 94 overall. We all know about Mike Daniels. He drafted a stud right end, Ben James, this year. I don't know how much he's starting him. I don't think he is very much, but never hurts to have the depth, right? But Rashard Gilbert, God, the guy had 6 sacks tonight against the Cowboys. I mean, that's pretty phenomenal. Even for me, that's eye-popping. So I think Rashard Gilbert is kind of manning that hole right there in the defensive line. I don't know if he's a nose tackle per se, but he's definitely playing like one, holding the anchor right there. But, I mean, by all accounts, this Eagles team is definitely star-studded all around. He has Jamie Collins in the middle linebacker spot, which never hurts. Telvin Smith on the outside. Also, we can't forget Kevin Sam, the 93 overall strong safety. So Eagles definitely has a good shot at the playoffs this season, I think. And by all accounts, I think I was right in predicting him that year. Even though he didn't make it, he came back the following season and proved us all right. So you guys can call me the prophet. I don't give a shit. That's cool. What do you guys think about Eagles?
Well, Marty, I do have one question. Who are you going to curse this year with a Super Bowl victory?
I've been
it's gonna be Jeep.
Exactly. Chargers called it. Jeep is just, I've played Jeep about 3 times in the other league's Evo. But he's just proven by all accounts from what I've seen that very balanced player. He knows what he's doing on defense, knows what he's doing on offense. He's a very calculated killer, and he will capitalize on your errors. So I think if there was a curse for me, it would be Jeep. I hope not. I want Jeep to win it all, but that's my pick this year.
Okay, cool. What do you think, Chargers?
I mean, you can look at the stats for Eagles defense. I think he's in top 5 or top 3 in every category. But I think I touched on it earlier. I think the run game is really what gets him. That's his moneymaker. He sets a tone. He controls the clock, which is, I think, an underrated part of Madden. And I mean, he's leading the league in yards, leading the league in rushing yards. And Drico is insane. Brody is throwing he has a season average of 133 passer rating. So I think Perfect's 158. So he's really close to perfect for the whole season so far, even with a loss. I think he has one of the highest rated teams in the league, which helps. You know, you need a good user to utilize a top team, but having a top team helps. I think his team was built to suit his play style. He doesn't quite have like the 90s all around the line, but I think they all have high run block, and they all have high strength, and they all have high impact block, I think. So that suits his play style of running the ball, keeping the ball running, keeping the clock running, making sure he's in charge of the clock, and he can kind of play the game how he wants to play it. And I keep talking about his run game and keep going back to Brody. He's throwing 71% this year, which is really impressive on the year. So I think Eagles is playing a complete offensive game. And then, as Marty said, he has the sacks with Gilbert there. 6 sacks in one game was his third season goal, was 6 sacks. So I'm pretty sure he's going to reach those season goals there. So you throw a solid defense on top of probably the most efficient offense in the league, next to Raiders, and that's a winning formula right there.
Yeah, I mean, for guys that are listening to this podcast and they're saying to themselves, man, I wish they'd talk about me a little more on the podcast. Let me tell you a secret for victory in Madden. Learn how to run the ball. You look at Eagles, he's got number 1 rushing attack in the league right now. The other counterpart to that is get better at defense. You can turn your defense into a top 10 defense. You have a top 5 rushing attack, top 10 defense. More than likely, you're going to have a shot at going to the playoffs at the end of the season. Eagles has kind of perfected that. Right now he's sitting with, I believe, number 3rd overall in points on defense and the number 1 rushing attack. And that's going to help carry his team. And you know, I feel pretty comfortable saying that he will make the playoffs this year. Now, will he make it back to the Super Bowl? I don't know. That NFC has gotten kind of stacked, especially with the addition of Bucks now. So he's gonna have some stiff competition. But he is going to have a chance. And looking back last year, it was kind of the perfect storm for Eagles. You had what I'd say the league favorite Jeep not being able to play in the playoffs. Of course, Eagles benefited for that, but it doesn't take anything away from his win. And then you flip over to the AFC, perfect storm again. I came in and knocked out Browns and Raiders, 2 pretty strong competitors, and then do what I did best. I choked before the Super Bowl and didn't find myself in it, and he got to play Jags. And I think Jags is a great player, but I think, you know, had it been Raiders, who knows, maybe Raiders would have got another Super Bowl. But he didn't. Eagles got it. I'm proud of him. He's one of my favorite people in the league. Happy to see him get a Super Bowl win.
Yeah, at least the Eagles can win a Super Bowl in some form.
Yeah. And on that note, guys, that wraps up episode 5 of the Madden Podcast. I don't know what you're doing listening to this podcast anyway when there's so many Pokemon to get out there and catch. But with that, thanks for listening. We're happy you guys tuned in, and we'll keep churning them out for you, man. Have a good weekend.
Peace.
See you guys.